Hey guys, welcome to the Old Ultra Runner channel. I'm your host Jay Tyner, and today I wanted to talk about reasons to own multiple pairs of running shoes. You've probably heard that some runners own multiple pairs of running shoes in what they call their shoe rotation, and wondered why would you ever want to do that, and if it's really necessary. Well, let me say first off, if you're just getting started or you don't want to, really it is not necessary. You can run in one pair of shoes. I even used to do trail runs in road shoes. However, you will find if you're running more than probably 3 times a week and you're varying your terrain, varying your speeds, that it will become more enjoyable to have multiple pairs of shoes. And there are several reasons why you own multiple pairs of shoes. Is once you start running more than probably 3 days a week, there's some injury advantages to having multiple pairs of shoes. For one thing, if you're running in the same pair of shoes, there's nothing wrong with these shoes, I love these shoes. If you're running in the same pair of shoes all the time, your foot is in the exact same position, your body's used to hitting in the exact same position, and you're more likely to get repetitive stress injuries because there's no variation. You're hitting the same surface in the same way all the time. Whereas just having a different brand of shoes, a different style of shoes within the same brand, whatever, the shoes are made a little bit different. The angles are a little bit different. The way it fits your foot is different. So your foot is going to hit the ground slightly different, and it'll give it a little variation if you switch a time or two a week, and it very likely will help with injury reduction. Something you might also consider if you go with multiple pairs of shoes is to get some with different heel to toe drops. Like in this case, the heel is 6 millimeters taller than the forefoot. I have another pair of shoes here where the heel is the same height as the forefoot. You may not be ready for a zero drop balanced cushion shoe yet, but even if you're coming from a high stack, which is the way most of us are, the traditional running shoe has like a 12 millimeter heel to toe drop. And a lot of us are used to it because we wear high heel shoes, or we have a heel on our shoes or on our boots that we wear to work. So even if you're going with a 12 millimeter, if you could go have your second pair of shoes have a 10 millimeter drop or an 8 millimeter drop, just a slight variation, it again causes your foot to hit in a slightly different way, in a slightly different method, and it should help prevent some of the injuries that happen from repetitive stress. It won't prevent all injuries, but it would help head in that direction. Another reason to consider multiple shoes is your shoes will last longer. If you're in the same pair of shoes all the time and you're wearing them every day, the shoes don't really have a chance. Usually when you run or you walk in shoes, the foam is going to compress a little bit. Your materials are going to, if you sweat or get wet, they're going to be sweaty and wet. If you don't give them time to dry out, you don't give time for the foam to expand back to its original position, the foam in the shoe are not going to last as long. Whereas if you're rotating shoes, it gives an opportunity for the first shoe you were running into to fully kind of bounce back and get back to its original state before you use them again. Also a reason why I would suggest that you get a different pair of shoes that you walk in as opposed to the ones you run in. Because if you're walking in them all day long, you're using up the miles of how long the shoes last. And as you know, running shoes aren't cheap. So I would actually prefer getting probably a less expensive pair that you walk in, not using up the miles on your expensive running shoes. And it also just like the whole idea of rotation, it gives your running shoes a chance to bounce back and dry out if you get them wet or whatever. Another reason to consider different pairs of shoes is for different terrain. I've been holding up these lightweight Atreus. These are very lightweight. They're great for the road. As you can see, they're not super grippy. They've got enough grip for on the road, but they're not super grippy. They're very lightweight. If you were to step on rocks though, they're not that thick. You're gonna feel the rocks. So if you're going on other terrain, say you're going on a trail run, I definitely prefer something like these Ultralone Peaks or just a trail shoe, because the outside grip is much grippier. It's going to help keep you from sliding or slipping around. It'll help grip the ground and the rocks better. And these also have a built-in rock plate, which, so when you step on a rock, there's more protection for your foot. Just makes it more comfortable. And there's things like a trail shoe will also have like a thicker, like we call this a toe cap. There's a piece of leather up here that protects from hitting a rock on the front. Whereas these, it's very thin and you're gonna feel that rock if you hit it. So that's another reason to consider it. Different types of workouts. You can run in one shoe. You can run hard in it, slow in it. And a good thing you would do starting out is buy a shoe that's kind of middle of the road all around, has some cushion, you can still use it for faster workouts. You can use it in most conditions, but you will find that to get maximum enjoyment, if you can afford the shoes, it's nice to have a pair of shoes that's maybe more cushioned and thicker and plush, softer when you're going for a long run or you're going for a recovery day where you're not running real fast and you just want it to be easier on your legs because of the extra cushion. It's not necessary, but it just makes it a little more enjoyable. But those same shoes are usually not what you want. A real cushioned, highly cushioned shoe that's real plush isn't necessarily what you want when you're going up tempo, when you're trying to go faster. Again, you might choose a shoe for that has there are now a lot of shoes that have a foam that's a little more responsive. It's more bouncy. It gives you some feed, helps you feel like you're moving faster. It kind of gives you a bounce off the ground and makes you feel a little quicker. Or you might go with a lighter shoe like this that, again, a lighter shoe makes you feel faster because it's not as much weight for your feet to another thing is I tend to go with lighter shoes like this for a racing situation, because when they're lighter, you feel faster, you move faster. But this shoe, being a lighter shoe, this one actually has decent cushion. It can do it pretty much all around, but it wouldn't be my first choice for a long recovery day. I would instead want to go with something more cushioned, like this, that has more cushion. Anyway, so there's just advantages for comfort switching out. So having different shoes just gives you more choice, makes it more fun. Also, an advantage to having multiple pairs of shoes is for you fashionistas. You can have shoes in different colors. So you can kind of choose if you want your shoes to match your outfits, you can have different colors so you can match your outfit. I'd say another thing that having multiple pairs of shoes gives you is you find out that there are multiple brands and types of shoes that work for you. And an advantage to that is you're able to buy shoes more, instead of sitting and you're in one model of shoe, you're waiting, hoping that those shoes go on sale. By having multiple pairs of shoes, you have more opportunity to see a sale come up on a shoe that you like and go grab it. I find that very advantageous. I'm able to, okay, I'm going to replace my highly cushioned shoe now because there's a highly cushioned shoe on sale that I know will work for me. Oh, I'm going to replace right now my lightweight shoe, my lightweight racing shoe, because there's one of those on sale. I don't, and because I'm alternating between shoes, I'm not eating up that one shoe real quick and needing another one of those immediately. I've got more time to find a deal. And that's the cheap part of me likes that. It sounds like it's expensive to own multiple pairs of shoes, but when you're spreading it out over time, I think I actually end up a little cheaper, because instead of buying a $140 shoe over and over and over, eating it up and then buying it over, I will often find shoes for $60 or $50 that are clearance, and I'll just replace that type of shoe, and I'm able to keep my average cost per mile down. Another advantage to the flexibility of shoes, you'll hear people say that they go to marathons, pack your running shoes in your luggage, your carry-on luggage, because in case it gets lost in flight, if you're flying to an out-of-town marathon. Well, my wife, going to her second marathon, had one pair of shoes that she was used to running in, one pair of shoes she felt comfortable in, and I told her, well, carry on your shoes. Well, she packed it underneath anyway, and sure enough, we had a problem in the airport, lost our luggage for a day or two. Well, we had flown in to see her family in New York, driven out to the small town in New York where the race was going to happen the next day. We didn't have time to wait for them to find our luggage and get our shoes. So we go out to this little town, and the running shoes are already, most of the running stores are already closed for the day. The race is the following day. We went to the expo, and we're hunting through the expo. They were selling some shoes, and we're hunting for that exact brand of shoes. And we found them. We were all excited. But we go through every box, and they did not have her size. So then we're like stuck. Are we going to have to buy a shoe she hasn't ever run in, isn't familiar with, to go run the marathon? Or are we going to buy something that's not exactly her size? Neither one of them ideal for her second marathon. Fortunately, I opened one of the boxes and found it was for her brand of shoes, and it was should have been the wrong size, but her size was in there. They had the shoes in the wrong box, so we lucked out. But that didn't have to be the case. What I'm saying is, if you had the flexibility to have multiple shoes that worked for you, you would have had multiple choices at the expo to find a shoe that would work for you. Anyway, that's just a small story. And again, I'll say you don't really have to have multiple pairs of shoes. I just think it adds to enjoyment. It can help a little bit with injury risk, and it's just something to consider. If you found any of this information useful or helpful, please hit the like button. And if you are interested in more of this sort of information, my shoe reviews or just my running journey, please subscribe.